how to time the market and lock in your mortgage interest rate at the absolute lowest and make sure you get the best deal possible. It sounds like a great theory, and yet I'd like to propose an alternative. I don't recall a single period of my 23-year career where I've ever been as frequently asked about the future of interest rates, the predictions of where interest rates are going to go, and timing the market and making sure that as a client that they're getting the lowest rate possible. Which is interesting to me because we're also in an environment where the markets are about as disjointed as any time in recent history that I can remember. Historically speaking, there's some financial markets that influence the mortgage interest rates, and there's trends that we can follow, and there's guidelines that we can look to and numbers that we can lean on that will predict, generally speaking, where things are going. Right now, that's just not true. There's more politics involved in mortgage interest rates. There's more Fed information. We're seeing bigger swings when notes are released and comments are released, and a X comment is released, or Twitter, or whatever it's called, than we really are the stable financial tools that we have historically used. So we've got a bunch of folks trying to time the market perfectly, and we've got the market kind of going rogue on us. And yet here we are trying to predict the future of interest rates. I listened to a great communicator yesterday tell a story which I think is super relevant to this conversation, and he talked about using a story about his daughter's swim meet. He talked about the concept, which you've probably heard before, of running a race and getting to the end only to realize that you've run the wrong race. I've also heard a lot of business communicators or health and wellness folks refer to it as the concept of leaning your ladder against the wrong wall. You've climbed the ladder, you've worked so hard, only to realize that the wall was the wrong wall to begin with. Interest rates are super important when it comes to a mortgage. Interest rates are not the only important thing, and collectively as a whole, they might not even be the most important thing. This is a very complicated market. Buying a house is an incredibly expensive, emotionally taxing, physically exhausting experience that has a ton of variables that go into it. Timing the market to buy, timing the market to sell, price points, down payments, pulling money out of investments, selling stock, leveraging an insurance policy. There are 100 different pieces of the puzzle when it comes to a mortgage transaction and your personal financial statements and just collective financials that you really need to consider. The mortgage interest rate is just one little piece of that puzzle. You've got to take a bigger look and make sure that you're not stepping over dollars to get to pennies on just focusing on the interest rate. There's a very good reason that the large mortgage companies use a tactic of giving the client a super low interest rate and then burying a bunch of costs into the bottom, because they've got a pretty solid theory that the client is going to only look at the interest rate the majority of time, and they're not going to take into consideration all of the really important financial details. So I'm Tom King. We are King Loans Cornerstone Mortgage. Yes, the interest rate's important. You should get a great one. But if you're going to sit around and just wait for the best interest rate possible, you might end up running the wrong race and missing the finish line altogether.